In this video, we'll talk about the strange object that Perseverance Mars has detected on the red planet. Let's face it, every one of us has once believed that there might be life on Mars after watching the movies. That's why enthusiasts are quick to jump to conclusions whenever they spot something weird in the photos from the Mars rover. Recently, we have people discussing Martian ramen, and here's what NASA has to say about it. Firstly, NASA finds Martian ramen and quickly releases an explanation. Let's get one thing out of the bag. There are no aliens on Mars yet. A person can dream, right? Loneliness isn't such a great thing, even when you have a planet full of people. You'd still be gloomy about possibly being alone in the universe. That's why space agencies worldwide keep trying to find signs of life or colonize other planets. We can't just be satisfied with Earth, right? Mars is the closest planet to Earth that's not so close to the Sun. And when the Perseverance rover landed on Mars, we're hoping it would photograph Matt Damon's potato garden. But all the world got to see was spaghetti. Yes, spaghetti. Or as people are calling it, the Martian ramen. The world thinks that Martians like pasta, but thankfully, NASA was quick to come forward and give a more logical explanation to the people. Social media went into an uproar when a flying spaghetti monster was detected in a picture taken by the Perseverance rover in July 2022. The object looked like a pile of weird-looking spaghetti tumbling over the landscape. People didn't know what to call it because, frankly, we haven't seen spaghetti that tumbles like that. Anyways, amateur theorists were quick to take it upon themselves to solve the mysteries of the cosmos, and their genius take on the whole situation was that either it's a spaghetti-like alien or a Martian's plate of noodles and meatballs just happened to spill over near the rover. But as usual, NASA had a way more boring explanation than what people were posting on the internet. Turns out, it's nothing but garbage. According to an imaging scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Justin Mackey, the flying spaghetti is a piece of netting from thermal blankets. Boo-hoo! The thermal blankets were there to protect the rover from the high temperatures that spacecraft was subjected to when it landed on Mars. It looks like the scientists believe that encountering debris like this is common in space missions. So it wasn't enough to litter the Earth, but now other planets too? That's diabolical! At least that's what Billy Butcher would say if he ended up in NASA. Coming up, NASA says space litter is a regular occurrence. Speaking of littering and space junk, it looks like it's more common than we think. Spacecrafts and rovers have to eject lots of unnecessary gear as they land or move on from other missions. Since we still haven't invented beaming from one place to another, NASA has to rely on extreme data and precautionary methods to ensure that their $1 billion don't end up in Martian sand. Dubbed as the 7 Minutes of Terror, the Perseverance had to shut off a lot of gear as it descended to Mars' surface in February 2021. There were literally hundreds of things that could have gone wrong during the rover's landing, including not being able to slow down or simply crashing. But NASA's brilliant minds made it possible that those things don't happen. Perseverance wasn't only attached to a decent rocket, but it was also installed with a heat shield, and as it entered the atmosphere, the rover deployed a parachute to slow itself down. Soon after, the heat shield was jettisoned, and even the parachute was discarded. So you can see that any part of these discarded items could have easily fooled you into thinking that it was a sun shield from a Martian's rooftop. Perseverance's descent rocket was also separated from it and crashed to the surface at a safe distance from the rover. Justin Mackey explains that some of the entry, descent, and landing, also known as the EDL hardware, broke into smaller pieces after impact. The back shell and the parachute were photographed by the autonomous mini-helicopter, Ingenuity, that went with Perseverance to Mars. A few of those materials and the spaghetti-looking netting were photographed by Perseverance in the Hogwallow Flats region of Jezero Crater, which is only a mile over from where the rover landed. So it's safe to say that no Martian lost their lunch, and the netting's appearance was only due to shredding and unraveling that could be the result of being subjected to strong forces. Mackey mentions that Hogwallow Flats seems like a natural collecting point of wind-blown EDL debris, so it wouldn't come as a shock if the Perseverance photograph pizza next time. Up next, Perseverance Mars taking pictures of its own debris is quite unique. It looks like it's going to be a while until NASA announces that we're not alone, but until then, let's just unravel the beauty of Perseverance, capturing its own junk. The Mars rover has been coming across EDL debris quite frequently now, and it's a good opportunity for engineers back on Earth to observe them. The EDL hardware is jettisoned once their job is complete, and Perseverance has been spotting and cataloging the remnants. The debris has been the reason for a lot of confusion for the common people. Just like the bright object spotted in April 2022, people thought that they'd finally discovered alien tech. It was labeled as the bright object, and it was hard to confirm anything until NASA had a good look at it. And so, the Perseverance made its way to Hogwallow Flats and photographed the object. It was suspected to be a multi-layer insulation piece from the sky crane. This is the same reason region where the rover photographed the spaghetti ball. Now, in related news. Next, we have Europe's Mars rover, still helpful in the search for life on Mars. We can only imagine or hope that there's life on other planets, or we can find signs that can help colonize them in the future. NASA's Mars Perseverance has been instrumental in discovering the red planet, but Europe's not far behind. The European Space Agency's ExoMars Rosalind Franklin rover was scheduled to launch in 2018, but after several delays, it was finally given the go-ahead to launch atop Russia's Proton rocket. But as we know, Europe won't be taking any help from Russia after their Ukraine invasion. It's almost sad to see a potentially capable machine go to waste. Scientists think that the vehicle would play a big role in discovering if Mars ever supported life. Russia joined the ExoMars program in 2012 and would provide the rover with a landing platform. The rover is worth $1.3 billion, and the space agency is at a crossroads as to sticking to finding another solution or simply scratching the whole idea. If the European Space Agency does decide to keep the program, they could expect it to take off sometime around 2028. Next up, Blue Origins launches 6 people into space. Jeff Bezos founded Blue Origin because he wanted to go into space. Now it's a privately funded, suborbital spaceflight services company that's taking ordinary people like us to space. Blue Origin's New Shepard suborbital vehicle took 6 people to new heights, including folks who had just experienced their first suborbital flight. Blue Origin's West Texas site carried 6 people and brought them back to Earth about 10 minutes later. Among the passengers were the first people from Egypt and Portugal to reach space, along with Kobe Cotton, who's the founder of the YouTube channel Dude Perfect. Vanessa O'Brien was also among the crew members. You must know her as the Woman of Steel who climbed the world's tallest mountain, descended to the deepest point of the ocean, and even became the first woman to complete the explorer's extreme trifecta. At this point, everyone's looking at space because maybe the Earth has grown boring. And if you've seen Don't Look Up, you'd have a better idea why these rich folk want to get out of here. If they can pay $450,000 for a 10-minute ride in space, they can also leave behind us common folks for a seat out of Earth when the asteroid finally hits. And finally, SpaceX lands a rocket at sea. South Korea has officially made it to the club as they launched their first ever space mission. And that's all thanks to SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that carried the South Korean spacecraft called Danuri. This is SK's first ever attempt at a deep space mission, and they're going all the way to the moon. If all goes according to plan, the robotic moon landing will be made by 2030, and it will be a great deal for the entire South Korean nation. The Falcon 9's 2 stages separated 2.5 minutes after lifting off, and the first stage came down for a pinpoint landing on the SpaceX drone ship. This is the 6th touchdown for Elon's space baby, while the rocket's second stage continued toward the sky as it carried KPLO. But the South Korean mission still has a long way to go before it finally slips into lunar orbit. We can't wait to see what South Korea can do in space. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think you would ever want to live on another planet? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.